Metaverse.
Greetings, I'm Shad, and it's time we actually revisit an important subject. Yes. And that is, what would be the best armor for a fantasy adventurer to wear? Hence why not only do we have select pieces of armor, we have a new piece of armor that you got recently.
Yes.
That's getting showcased.
Yes. A little bit about it. Steel Mastery, they do incredible work, and as you might have noticed, they actually made Shad's original brigs, and they made me my very own custom one, which is actually different from yours.
Slightly different.
But we'll get to that a little bit later.
We will indeed. So I covered this subject a couple of years ago now, and my thoughts have actually evolved a bit.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
What, you don't think I can't change my
that's
mind?
crazy.
No, I say really.
You act
because
really
seemed
surprised.
very confident last time around. In like you knew exactly where you wanted to go. You were completely confident with it. I figured you weren't going to change your opinion.
I'm not saying I think I'm 100% wrong. I'm just saying my thoughts have evolved a bit.
Okay.
One thing has changed though. Shad is now a actual fantasy adventurer.
I am.
So now,
actually, that's a good point.
So now he's evolved a little bit.
Well,
yeah.
funnily, that actually is the reason why my thoughts have evolved, because I have more experience wearing armor. In actual fact, Tyrant is wearing the one that I've worn a lot.
Yeah.
Do you hear this? This is metal.
This is steel, and he's actually tricking you. He wears foam all the time. I wear the steel, well, did wear the steel until today.
What are you complaining about?
He wears the phone all the time too.
Yes, but there's a difference between wearing like steel like this out in the field actually doing things versus when we just need to stand around and I'm 10 kilos heavier for no reason. There's a difference there. But yes, continue on.
So when I say my thoughts have evolved, we're probably going to cover some of the same philosophy that I shared in the other video, but we also have additional people to share your thoughts on, and they might actually disagree with me. So, first thing is, out of the gate, what?
Maybe.
You might disagree. With
Tyrant is like,
disagree.
of course.
Of course I am.
So, there's a lot of caveats to consider when you're thinking about this.
Yes.
There is like the thick of the combat, what would you want to wear, but one of the things I point out in the original video, which doesn't really get acknowledged a lot or even shown a lot in fantasy stuff, is traveling. The thing that adventurers will do most is actually traveling. Yeah. And so with that taken into consideration, that mixes up things considerably. And when I was considering it, I did say that I felt gambeson would be one of the most common adventuring bits of kit that they'll wear. I still largely agree, although there was a bit of conflict I had in the original video, and that was how much adventurers would travel in their armor.
Right.
And historically, there's a bit of give and take. There are depictions shown them carrying armor separate to themselves, and there's depictions of them traveling in armor. And so when I was trying to weigh it up, I kind of said, if it's over long distances, I think adventurers would just wear something more comfortable, hence the gambeson. Yeah. But if they know they were going into battle, well, actually, they'll probably wear more armored, kind of serious armaments.
Layer up as you're about to step into the heat of it. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Though, this is the thing, though. I have now worn armor, and equivalent, like even though I'm wearing a foam, brig, right? This is actually quite equivalent to something like hardened leather or something like that, okay? In terms of weight and restriction of movement. And I have worn that thing for hours on end. And it did impress me the amount of adaptability that you develop when you wear it continually. Yes. Conditioning to wear armor is a real thing.
It is.
I haven't really experienced much fatigue traveling over distances. It's traveling on inclines. Traveling on inclines with any type of armor. I can
absolutely attest to that. There was a period where I hadn't worn armor for a little while for reenactment, and I put on a full Hallberg suit and went to run up a hill, and I kind of ran straight into the hill because my legs weren't quite used to the give for the extra push. So yeah, inclines and the hills get
you do kind of acclimate to it. Like it might get a little hot depending on like sun, things like that. But for the most part, traveling on a flat surface, it isn't that bad. Yeah. Your body just gets used to it. It's just going up something. That's
and
when,
down. And down.
Yeah.
And if you're if you're riding a horse, that actually solves that quite a lot. And so I actually feel it depends on the length of time, but as someone who is conditioned and used to armor can comfortably wear it for a full day. Well, and then they wouldn't really rest in it. It depends if you're imminent attack, you can rest in armor.
Well, you got to remember, we're talking about adventurers here. So this is standard adventuring party, which means we don't know whether we have horses, whether we're going to be on a long campaign, whether it's going to be, in a city, in a tavern.
Well,
we're unprepared,
why
so
don't
we have to be prepared.
Why don't we take it as what we personally do? When we go out to adventure, we are quite literally in our kit from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. So I think that's a good baseline.
Yeah. And all right, so with the idea that adventurers can, like if they're conditioned for it, they can wear heavier bits of armor for full day travel and even rest in it, and that means they could extend a couple of days. If they know it's like a week's travel to get from point A to point B, maybe they would, it depends, but if you're actually under imminent threats, because you're conditioned for it, I think they would actually probably start to wear the armor more often, and that opens up multiple additional options now, okay? Because funny, still, Gambesson is still the base layer. Like for most armors,
it's a great armor just
it
to
is.
have. It really is.
like
really
we're all wearing Gambesson right now.
Yeah. It's stylish, it's light, and for the most part, it's going to protect you against some stuff. It won't protect you against like real heavy stuff.
Well, I'm stylish. I have aglets.
Oh. And by the way, we've done a dedicated video testing Gambesson armor.
Yeah.
And that Gambesson that we tested isn't even the best grade armor, but it's still surprising how effective it is. And it's one of these. This is the equivalent of what I'm wearing, and then the one that we tested is equivalent to what I'm currently wearing now. Really thick type of Gambesson with wool sandwiched in between thick
It's
cotton.
usually, if you want to get past one of them, either razor sharp, super pointy, or blunt force. Apart from that, it's kind of going to hold up.
Pretty darn good.
Next up, what did you want to go to?
Well,
I
now
think
we
should
have
go
the
through them a
options.
little
Let's go through the options, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts on what you think would be the best for a standard adventurer with the caveat of character classes, which is going to mix it up a bit.
When you say the caveat of character classes, as in for the most part, because obviously we start talking wizards, we can't really do armor depending on the setting. So just in general, what would work?
Yes, that's what we're going to be discussing. But so after so it's funny, in classic role-playing games, they call this padded armor. I have videos just sharing my frustration that Gambesson or padded armor is given such a low armor rating in RPGs.
Goku rages out.
It pisses me off.
It's good. You should see those.
Because it's really good. In actual fact, it's better than a lot of flexible dress leather, which people assume is leather armor. And it's like, no, leather armor is like real, actual armor grade leather armor.
Well, the closest we have is something like this.
Yeah.
And this,
give
Give it a knock.
but it gets
I'll
more
put it up
hardcore
to
than
my-
that.
So this is a lot closer to what you would have as like boiled or wax boiled armor, where you can kind of hear it. But if you get something like normal soft leather,
You look at this. Do you hear that? And so when you want armor out of leather, you need to harden it, and proper hardened leather armor is like plates, like an actual stiff plate of armor that is almost akin to plastic, hardened plastic, in terms of you want a baseline comparison.
kind of, and it's also kind of like a wood in the way that the
Yes.
grains actually trap blades coming in. They do hold onto it. They almost grip it.
Yeah.
So it can be good.
Todd's workshop actually has experimented with different types of hardened leather going off of historical recipes and stuff. Cured boilé.
Yeah, there's a French word talking about the process of creating it, but it's basically boiling it with wax, I believe.
Yeah, and it becomes really stiff and rigid. And so what I find funny about the leather armor thing is people think it's flexible and rogues would wear it, when actual armor grade leather armor is as restrictive, it's just a bit lighter than actual plate armor.
And a lot thicker.
And
yes.
there are very few depictions of leather armor in medieval art. And when we do find things that might be depictions of leather armor, it's all debatable because it's hard to tell if it's just got a cloth covering over top. But it seems to be like rarely ever actual breastplates, but joint kind of
Like accents.
Yeah,
Things that
accents,
can
yeah.
go with other stuff.
like maybe a pauldron or a bracer or something like that.
Much more easily shaped than a lot of the other types of armor. So it makes sense to have it as your, elbow cop or something like that.
But it also might not last as long as everything
true.
else.
Yeah. So as to how much leather armor would be used by fantasy adventurers, I'm skeptical.
I would say probably the same amount we do as accents. As
Accents,
like extra things. Yeah.
but like full total leather armor is where I'm like, because Gambeson is arguably as protective and more flexible. And then if you go the really hardened leather armor, get metal at that point. Like,
Would you say leather is less protective than a Gambeson?
depends on how hardened it is.
Yeah.
Like the actual hardened leather armor that's stiff and rigid, I would actually say it's probably a bit more protective, but it's restrictive and not very flexible. It's
I would be worried about the gaps.
You'll be the
So yeah, sure. You know, your main areas are going to be nice and covered, but under the arm, for example, you can't put a stiff piece of leather there.
Yeah.
But you know, as much Gambeson is there is as much Gambeson as here. So yeah, it's a trade-off.
And do remember, things like leather can dry out and start to crack and all this.
Yeah, there's actually wow. I hadn't considered that.
You don't want to keep that too subtle.
If
either
you're
because
And
if
then
you're
it
stuck in the
it softens it.
if you're stuck in the rain, that would soften up leather armor
well,
considerably.
that's something to consider as an adventurer, which we've found this through looking at different resources and doing a little bit of
And because we have to do
historical-
care on our own stuff as well.
Exactly. And doing some like historical experimentation is weather. Gambesons, as amazing as they are, when they get saturated, you're done for.
No, you're done for.
No, you are absolutely done for
They're
because
You're a bit.
They're
You are like
very
double-
heavy. They are
you're
very,
double,
very
you're
heavy.
basically double
All
your
right.
weight. If you get thrown into a river and you're wearing full plate mail, you can swim. If you're wearing
I tried to tell this to Shad yesterday.
if
and he
you're
didn't believe
wearing a Gambeson, you sink.
I want to test that. We have a lake, and I want to test that.
Oh.
I've seen people swim in chainmail. I reckon I could swim in Gambeson. And look, for safety, we'll tie a rope so you can pull me to shore if I go under.
For safety, I'm going to want. Well, I don't know what that water is. I wouldn't necessarily trust it. Anyway,
I've
that's another
swum in it.
video.
We've jumped in it.
As Shad said before, a Gambeson is basically lots of layers of different fabrics. So when you put it in water, it absorbs all that water, and all of a sudden, you're very heavy. So
It floats though, doesn't it?
no.
We need to
sinks.
test this. We need to test
It
this.
stinks.
So we have our Gambeson, we have our brig, we have some plate, we have a bit of mail, and of course we have some samurai armor.
There might be some more videos with this samurai armor in the
Yes.
future, by the way.
Yes. We just thought it was a good comparison.
It is,
Yeah.
and it was sent to us for review, so it's going to be a dedicated review. But in this video, we're more going to be focusing on general overall armor. And so the next armor that we kind of go to in terms of scales of armor is mail.
Yes.
Now, chainmail is really effective.
Well, I was going to say, there is actually a couple of pieces missing here, which we should bring up, but we just don't happen to have at Shadiversity. One of which is lamellar. We don't have any leather lamellar, which is kind of like scale mail, but made of leather. Well, it doesn't have to be made of leather, with the scales pointed up. There is also scale mail, which is usually scales pointed down. There's jack chains, which I love.
Jack chains are cool.
Jack chains, which is basically bars of steel on the long parts of the arm and chains in the joints. It's gorgeous stuff, and it's kind of like the cheap man's version of chainmail.
Yeah. We should mention studded leather.
Yes.
People think usually that's they get confused.
Blame Gary Gygax.
Yeah.
Blame Gary Gygax.
Studded leather was not an armor type historically, and I think it's a misinterpretation of this, what we're wearing here, brigandine, which has studs, but brigandine is plate armor.
Steel. Yes.
Steel.
Yes.
So, all right, mail. Mail is really effective, used historically, and even like when plate came around, still chainmail was out. It was usually worn under or in conjunction.
Yeah.
We've tested it as well, and to be fair, it took a lot to get through it. You have to really a pointy boy.
Proper riveted mail.
Yes.
Not butted, riveted mail. This is going to be in the same kind of realm as, say, I reckon, just a breastplate. And breastplate arguably covers chest area, and weight is comparable. Just breastplate. Though, because it is hanging off the same areas then. But there is more structure kind of supporting the upper weight as well. So
Do keep in mind that whenever you wear one of these armors, you're probably going to wear it with something else. You're probably going to wear it with a Gambeson or something underneath. So there's always more weight than just putting this on your naked body.
So when it comes to the next kind of stage of armor, right, including mail, breastplate, as well as all the other variants, they fall into, because also brigandine, okay? They fall into kind of the same consideration if an adventurer would wear it, because we're talking mostly about chest protection, aren't we?
Yes. Now, this one here, just so we're clear about this one was made by Steel Mastery, and they make pretty much all the brigs here at Shadiversity.
Yeah.
Because they make awesome brigs. Like, I mean, I love them.
They're awesome.
I'm missing a brick.
When like they are one of the most affordable,
Yeah.
good quality brigs.
Yes.
Now,
And they also very customizable. You can actually choose what you want. For example, the ones that Shad's got on is a foam one, and this one that I've got here that they made for me is also a foam one because we like, yes, armor's good, but at the same time, we're filming like all day in the heat. So something a little bit lighter than
a little
this.
easier.
Yeah.
And also, you know, it's not a European winter; it's an Australian summer.
Yeah.
So
So this brig here was made by them, and this one is not exactly the same as Shad's. It's actually different. It has
bit
different
different.
color, a true tyrant thread, as I call it. And
Looks
also,
like shad red.
Tyrant thread, and all of the rivets are a little bit different as well.
A little bit different. So, Steel Mastery, one of the only ones.
Sorry, I'm going to add one more piece in. These leather shoulders here weren't actually theirs.
Yes.
I made these myself. So if you were to get one of these, there'll be a link in the description. They're not going to come with these leather shoulders. They're mine.
They're one of the only companies, in actual fact, I do not know of a single other company that makes foam brigs. Like, and the thing to me makes it such a shoe-in is that if we put this down, like without being told, you can't tell that this is foam.
Yeah.
No.
Like I've worn this to medieval like events and stuff, and everyone assumes it's just metal. Like when I saw you at Croyle Castle,
That is
Nate,
correct.
Nate thought that I was wearing the metal one because it just looks so authentic.
I really did, and then I did this expecting solidity and got squish, and I was shocked.
And so for something that's easier to wear, that looks authentic, Steel Mastery is one of the only ones making something that I thought would be, of course, like, so if you want to do it for art, but even something that looks authentic and doesn't exhaust you for even certain types of reenactment,
You can also
this passes.
choose. You can get foam, you can get steel, you can get different rivets, you can get different colored
Colours.
ones. They have brass ones. You can get different buckles if you want. You can get, like, they do a whole bunch of different stuff. And when it comes to getting stuff, your own personal kit, right? The quality is always kind of, it's a hit and miss depending on where you go. When you go to someone like Steel Mastery, like their Gambeson as well.
Yeah.
Their quality.
We actually have multiple
Genuinely.
things, not only brigs, but the blue and black surcoat I wear, as well as my patterned Gambeson I wear.
Which is gorgeous.
That's all Steel Mastery, so their Gambesons are great as well.
Yeah.
We've collaborated and got heaps of gear from them, and they're great. Big recommendation. Okay, so going back to the subject, right? In the comparison between the options of chest protection, mail, plate, this is essentially plate, but it's a different type of plate because it's more flexible.
Yes. Now, something that we should mention is that we can't actually show you on the particular ones that we're wearing, but for the most part, you would have a bit of you would be able to see the plate on the inside, which means ease of care.
Well, you can see the plate on the inside here.
Of this particular one, yeah. So, something that bothers me about wearing metal things if I was adventuring is like rusting. And how can you upkeep those things? With this sort of stuff, like look at this. This we tested, we put inside for like a day, and we're already getting surface rust all over this.
So he did do a good job in terms of keeping it's got a what do they call it?
Bluing. This is bluing, yes.
Which helps prevent rust a little bit because it's got
does.
like a level of oxidization on the surface.
It does. And something like this, we actually keep in a bag that's been sprayed with oil and WD-40 and stuff, so it doesn't start rusting. Something like a brig, I'm a bit more, we've got this cotton or whatever on the outside, so ease of care, felt in this particular case. Yeah.
All right. What do you think an adventurer would pick out of these options? Like if money wasn't an issue, and they wanted...
No, see, that's a different story. If money wasn't an issue, it's always going to be full plate. Most of the time, unless, of course, you're a barbarian or something
Okay,
else.
interesting.
But what is the smart option is not necessarily of what you would get if you had unlimited gold.
But I want to question that. Like, to me, you would opt for plate over chainmail.
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
I wouldn't.
I knew he was going to disagree with you.
Really?
I told
Okay,
you.
we're going to discuss that. But in terms of the types of plates, brig versus breastplate, that's a harder choice for me.
Yes.
No, not for me.
Really?
Brig over chest plate.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right. I agree with that.
Why would you pick brig?
I choose brig. I just want to make myself clear before anybody steals my answer.
A chest plate.
Me too. I would also choose brig.
A chest plate, although has some form of articulation, I feel like it's a step down technologically. The articulation is more along the alignment of...
So this is very
of
form-fitting, and I've got a lot of movement, relatively speaking, when in full steel. Like, this is steel plate. So I'm able to do whatever I want. Now, to be fair, I don't have all my legs protected and stuff like that, but upper torso, I'm pretty good.
How far do you reckon you could push that?
Pretty far. Like you guys have seen, how many videos have I done in this thing?
But like,
looked like he was gonna...
I know. Do you reckon you could do some rolls and stuff in it?
Yeah.
We need it. All right. So, if you are a supporter of Shadowversity, that's on channel memberships, Subscribe Star, Patreon, or Player, we'll make an exclusive video companion to this one where Tyrant will roll in this metal brig.
He's got volunteered.
I'll do it.
To see how flexible and maneuverable Brigandine really is.
I'm pretty confident in my abilities. I've been wearing this non-stop for months now, so I'm good. I'm acclimated.
So we are making exclusive content for our supporters now. This isn't the only bit of exclusive content. We have like
30. Because I've started counting them.
Oh, really?
30 exclusive videos, BTS, behind the scenes, Q&As, unboxings. It's all just there.
Yeah, but now we're actually making dedicated kind of test videos, like main content for our supporters. What, we have like shooting ballista bolts at...
At this one, yep.
No, we did the ballista bolts, but just like regular war arrows against
we did both.
it. Yeah.
We did both,
and we also have trying to dodge like throwing daggers on a beam.
Yep. And those videos will usually come out a couple of hours after you see this one. So
or a week, depending on our schedule. But they'll come out. But we hope to put them out together. So you don't want to miss out. And thank you to all our supporters. It means we can keep making the content. Okay.
Bring up now.
Yeah.
I'm good.
So there is one case where plate is superior to brigandine, and it's one of the... Brigandine does have compression, more flex.
Yes.
Where this has structure and can resist blunt force better.
Yes.
And it's a give and take. I tend to prefer, it's easier to wear. Well, one of the big things probably that Brigandine was favored as a more affordable option, not necessarily because it was more easier to make, but it was also easier to put on. Most brigandines open at the front, and you don't need additional assistance to take on and take off, which for an adventurer, I think would be quite important and useful. And so if you are wearing armor that you needed, you would need your party members or a squire even to help, and that could actually make an issue. And so the give and takes kind of push me in the favor of brigandines.
Some of the positives of the brigandine is, first off, you have that more maneuverability. You also have a different construction method, because these rivets usually go into the steel plate itself, meaning you get a lot more articulation. The plates themselves aren't actually together. It's, it's this cotton or whatever fabric it is, that's actually holding all the steel together, right? Something like this, it's usually all riveted together, and as you can see from some testing, all of a sudden you can screw up that articulation very easily.
Depending on the level of technology we give with this, these need to be sliding rivets. So not just a rivet that pivots, but a rivet that has a channel to slide along, because otherwise you lose a lot of articulation. So
and the reason why
that can get quite advanced and can jam up if it's not done right.
Now, the reason why I wouldn't pick something like mail, which I'm curious why you would, is because, like you said before, you only kind of have two places for that weight to go, on your shoulders or your waist. I don't really like that because it can start to get a bit heavy.
And it does.
Yeah.
It does. I have worn mail for a 3-day weekend non-stop, and it is fun.
Yeah, nah, I'm not
So I'm really interested to hear why you would prefer mail over breastplate or brig, but one of the things that I want to latch onto is like, this was a really well made kind of standard grade, munitions grade breastplate by Adrian. Shout out to Adrian. Is it Iron Adrian Watson on Instagram? And he has YouTube. And it's not hardened steel. And so a hardened steel, not all medieval armor was hardened steel, by the way. This is why this is good standard grade, mid grade.
Good analogy.
Yeah, but a hardened steel would hold up more. It is interesting though, because it took some solid hits, but we did mess up the articulation like we mentioned. And now, if we wanted to repair this, that would be really difficult. You'd have to just try and hammer it back into shape. You can't. It's really hard to remove a plate and replace it. Where with brigandine, you can actually just remove segments in it.
Yes, but to remove segments, you're going to need to re-rivet
Yeah,
each
yeah.
individual
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
So it
Not
would
not
take
not
a
all
little
of it,
bit.
just the part one you're removing.
Yeah, usually just the plate that you need to fix.
Well, depending on how it's set, I've seen them built with entire rib sections. So depending on whether it's
Well, that's
individual
more coat of
sections-
plates. The later brigandines got smaller and smaller plates.
Okay.
Yeah.
That I didn't know.
Yeah. All right, so Nate.
The reason is because of ease of use. So if mail gets damaged, it's very easy to knit the hole back up. For one.
I mean, you'd.
On the road?
I wouldn't call it easy.
Yeah. Very easy. A little set of pliers
You
is
reckon?
all you need. Yeah, and a bag of
You
replacements.
can
Okay,
sort
okay.
of like hook them all together and make
Alright,
little.
alright.
It
You
is-
can.
Yeah.
Trust me on this, it's perfectly viable. 2 is maintenance and cleaning. So let's say, for example, this gets rusty. Well, that's going to be annoying, especially if it has an interior wall.
It's-
If
for the
something
mo-
like that gets rusty, it's still going to be annoying to get to. Something like this, if this gets rusty, you throw it in a bag, you throw sand in
Sand
it,
or-
you kick it around, or...
Wire brush.
Put it in rice.
No,
That'll
don't
fix
do
it.
that. Put it in rice. Or coat it in oil and throw it in the fire and roll it around. It's going to burn off the rust and it's going to blacken it, which means it's going to be, yeah, sure, it's going to leave a mark, but who cares? You're an adventurer, you're dirty. I just think that overall, the amount of value you get out of that for the cost of what a suit of mail gets compared to the AC bonus, which in real life, this is a lot better.
Yeah.
But the amount of AC bonuses, mail's going to be the go-to. Plus, it's easier to take on and off.
All right. Well, we have the samurai armor here. In what situations would you wear the samurai armor? Or the samurai breastplate?
I wouldn't.
Oddly enough, no, oddly enough, samurai armor is actually a bit closer to brigandine than plate armor is because it's tied with ropes that give flexibility a bit.
Yes.
In
Not as much on the
sections,
breastplate.
in sections of it.
Yes, yeah, in sections of it. There are some parts of samurai armor where they do have these the nylon cords or whatever they were, silk cords.
They used nylon back in the day.
They use nylon these days. The cords to connect these different plates, which I kind of like. I like the mobility of that. However, on the big, on this big bit here, you don't really have much mobility. You're very much a big cylinder.
Yeah. Although they're protected against rust a bit better because they're usually lacquered so heavily.
That is true. That is
Until
true.
the lacquer goes. You know what?
Oh, until you hit it and it scrapes it off. Yeah, yeah.
But you know what? You asked originally, what about if money wasn't an issue? You had a giant purse of gold.
Yes.
I think you can combine a few things here. Gambison with a Holberg, and then for that extra protection,
Brig.
Bring it
So
over the top.
then we get to the layering side of things. I tend to like to be a bit lighter, and so that's why I would go brigandine with gambison underneath. Gambison offers really good protection, and so
really does.
this what I'm wearing is nearly full body protection. Like my hands and knees are kind of the only real vulnerable areas. Everything else has armor, and so that's pretty good. And it's for choosing a mid ground that is a balance between comfort, ease of wear, and protection. I know full plate is more protective, hands down. And I wonder if comfort and ease of wear wasn't as much of an issue. I knew I was going into like serious combat and full plate was available. I'd probably wear the full plate, you know?
Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that. Yeah. I'm kind of closer to him. I know we don't really agree much, Shad, but I
for
am.
people who don't agree much, they seem to agree a lot.
I am kind of on the train that he. I mean, like obviously, I agree that this is a good mid ground between protection and mobility, and then having something like a gambison. Like a gambison is just so good.
It is.
It's just the
It is.
it's the bee's knees, man. It's so good.
Very good.
I like having a little bit of extra leather in some accents because I don't really want to put steel in those places.
Although I actually like that because I have a more heavily, when I wear the helmet, I'll actually add armor pieces on top to cover the arms even more, and that's my heavier armored option.
Something to mention is, I don't know about you guys, but I would also have a helmet as well. I would,
Well,
Yeah, oh yeah,
if
I
we're-
give an edging helmet
we're
more
adding,
often.
yes,
Yeah.
helmet obviously, but I would also add a shield.
yes,
I like
you
the
would.
idea of not getting hit on the armor at all
Yes.
if I can help it.
Yes. I usually like to keep my lower body a bit more nimble. However, I do like a longer gambison to protect,
So
areas.
what we're kind of falling into in terms of our conclusion is Gambison plus chest protection.
Yeah.
Would be the more standard level adventuring armor option.
Also neck. This is something that I don't have
Plus
much. I don't have much of. However, with this steel one, usually
Much of a neck?
neck protection.
Oh, right, okay.
This is pretty good neck protection.
Oh yeah.
That's very good.
Right,
Usually,
that's
I
what it
don't worry
does.
too much because as soon as I go to do anything, this goes up into my neck, so I'm kind of okay.
I rarely actually like put
Ever
this
do it up? Yeah.
do it up, but for the effect, I will.
And for any adventurers out there, when they
This is
get their chest plates and helmets all done in the one go,
looks better.
it can
You reckon it
limit
looks
your
better?
movement, which means your head can't get knocked completely to the side.
Chat, let me know. Does this look better?
Yeah. Leave a comment down below.
Does it make me look more buff?
Anyway, sorry, what were you saying?
Am I not turtly enough for the turtle club? Do you get the reference?
I'm good. It was a little historical factoid, don't worry about it.
Oh, what was the fact?
The chest plates and gorgets can actually lock a helmet in historically, so that you can get hit on the head as hard as it would be to break your neck and it won't break. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's a
that's
lock
mostly
point.
for jousting though.
Yeah, I've seen it for HMB because
Well,
obviously
yeah.
it's HMB.
So that is kind of the conclusion. When we say chest protection, we'd say metal chest protection.
Yeah.
And you can choose heavier. Then we get into the realm of more subjective preference. But I think the more common grade of armor is what we've naturally gravitated towards in our own experiment when we start wearing it, actually.
Yeah. Because keep in mind that we also have gone out and worn these things out in the field when we have to do things. And the reason
day.
And the reason why I gravitate towards something like a steel brig, like even this brig, right?
Yeah.
I would be happy to wear, and I have worn this steel brig all day from start to finish, filming in the heat, doing all that stuff. I've also had to do it with this, and I hated it.
See, that's the interesting part because I haven't actually worn brig except for put it on maybe once.
You
I
should
haven't
try
actually- I haven't actually
Maybe
worn
that's
brig
it.
That's maybe.
for the thing. Whereas
Once you go brig, you never go back.
I have worn mail. I've got 2 suits or 3 suits of mail actually at home. We've got the mail here that I've worn. I've worn it for like 3-day long weekends. I like my mail. Don't take that out of context.
He likes.
Don't.
We've learnt that Nate is choosing that because he hasn't worn a brig yet.
This is true.
That's basically the reason why.
All right, let's try and go through the character classes quickly.
Sure.
Barbarian, well, their iconic thing is to not wear armor.
Two
I
belts.
think I've done videos to try and justify it, and I think shields are the way you justify the classic barbarian look. And if they focus on conditioning and fitness to wear out an opponent, because look, you do feel you exhaust yourself quicker wearing armor than not. And so if a barbarian is like just this athlete that is made for long distance exertion, like the tactic is just defensive and make them run around, exhaust them, and just step in and.
Yeah, except for when they rage, there's no defense there. But armor, woad.
Why would you not wear armor? Even if you're...
Because barbarians are raging.
Yeah, but I mean, like...
Well, we have historical cases of them, like the Celts. There are cases of the Celts going into battle naked with just a shield.
That's true.
And they just want to intimidate their opponents! Sorry,
Anyways, moving on. Go.
So yes, we've got barbarians. You've also got your standard fighters, which is going to be a lot of the options here.
Yeah, I think fighters, even clerics, any kind of armored character class, if they're adventuring specifically, something like this. But if they know they're going into serious battle and and they had the options, full plate should always be on the table.
Yeah.
Magic classes, it depends if it's worked into the world building that they can't like. And there are easy ways to justify not wearing armor. Better than the D&D, armor would not get in the way of hand movements for spells.
It's meant to be depending
I
on
don't
the
know.
system.
I actually get a bit... And I'm wearing leather armor.
That's why he doesn't wear metal armor, because he likes the flexibility users. Depending on the setting, it is actually meant to be non-conductive of magic, is what metal is. So
Well,
that's
yeah,
one
I
of
like-
the reasons why they say that wizards can't wear mail or
Yeah, in my
suits of
setting,
plate.
two reasons. Iron naturally repels magic, that's why fey creatures don't like it, and it's repellent to, the wizards, so they wear it, screws up their magic. Also, if magic is an energy that you have to, channel through your body, thick layers would get in the way.
That makes sense.
And so, it's there are good ways to justify it, I reckon. I don't like the
Somatic.
somatic movement, so whatever. I don't think that's a good reason. But if wizards could wear armor, yes. And what I said in my other video, I think still holds true. Shields.
I mean, can't they wear
I am never going to complain at shields. You say
Like
shields, I
no,
agree with
wizards
you
would
100%.
friggin' use shields all the time. Like seriously.
So for wizards, lighter armor, maybe padded.
Like, why can't they wear a gambeson?
Yeah, they could wear a gambeson. Yeah. Like,
Druids, let's go leather armor because that sort of makes sense. Because they
does it? Druids like animals, so therefore their primary armor they wear is the skin of animals.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I thought they were hippies. That's like
Have you not
love
seen-
the animals.
Well, there's different types of druids, but I'm picturing the ones
Hello
that are
there,
like-
my animal companion. I am wearing your brother.
I'm more imagining like Garuk, like just wearing the pelts of the,
Like-
of the things that he's
I
killed.
actually have a bit of an issue with D&D style fantasy druids because they are so far removed to what an actual historical druid is.
yes.
Or like so different.
That's another whole kettle of fish.
Okay,
Anyways,
Historical druids are
Rangers. I think a ranger. Well, look, they're in the forest, traveling a lot, even more than your standard adventurer almost. I could see a ranger going like brigandine, but this is the thing. When I actually need more maneuverability, and especially using my bow,
Yeah.
I get rid of the pauldrons.
Right.
They get in the way of.
Shoulders,
Like-
as much as I love shoulders so
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
They do get in the way of things. They really do.
That's actually one of the main kind of dividing differences between character classes, where I can wear these pauldrons mostly with swordplay. These ones aren't great because the sword breaker, things are too
to be
high.
fair,
and they-
you don't have to worry about maneuverability with that.
That's right. Chainmail.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. If it's not done correctly and you have your belt done up, your arms get to here and stop because all of a sudden that
Okay,
belt...
I
that's-
don't think we need to include user error.
Yeah, that's
That's
user
not user error.
It is.
That is the way that it's worn. That's
I can shoot a bow easier in chainmail.
Yes.
I can fight with swords easier in chainmail.
okay.
You
Talking about pauldrons specifically, I reckon
Those who know, know. Those who know, know.
once you remove the pauldrons, you got full maneuverability.
You
I
do,
can
you
shoot
do.
a bow, use arrows, and in actual fact, it's comparable to wearing a hauberk, but hauberk gives you arm protection, where plate's arm protection actually can get in the way of certain weapons. And so when it comes to rogues and rangers, I would actually think pretty much the same. I feel they would be willing to wear like a brigandine or, because
by itself with nothing else.
let's move around, show how noisy it is.
It's not too noisy. It's more so the thunks, right? Like,
But if you wanted
That.
to sneak,
Oh, you could.
you could absolutely sneak and bring pretty good. So the cloth covering actually muffles a lot
It
of
does,
the
it does,
a lot
yes.
of the clanking, and so
and usually because they are so form-fitting, those plates are hugging you more.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they're not actually, like up here they're looser, right? Down here, you're fine.
so there's a couple of caveats. I think that's a very viable option for rogues, rangers, the more kind of agile, sneaky type, except for one important, if they do a lot of climbing.
Yes.
Because you want to get your body a lot closer to the
And
That
the
makes sense.
additional weight is a
Yes.
problem with climbing. And so if they're climbing trees or climbing urban areas,
You probably go, yeah. Or no armor. No armor is definitely a thing.
that's an option as well.
But I mean, you might as well just wear a gambeson.
I know.
It's just wear a gambeson.
They're light.
Yes.
They do not restrict movement. It's the base layer, and it should be far more protective than a lot of role-playing games give padded armor. Padded armor should be equivalent.
Go watch our video
Yeah.
on gambesons, because like these things legitimately, if unless it's blunt force or something super,
Super
sharp
sharp.
and super pointy,
It'll
be fine.
They stop full-blown sword strikes. But in a lot of role-playing games, +1 armor.
No.
Bothers me. Other character classes, like paladins, they're stereotypically associated with knights, but I think even a paladin would opt to breastplate, brigandine, if they're traveling a lot.
This video brought to you by Brigandine.
I mean, brigandines are awesome. They're so underrated.
I love brigandine.
Like, look at medieval art. In the period where they were used, brigandines are so
everywhere.
common.
They are.
They are stylish. They hug your body. You have great maneuverability, and these things are just as protective as these things on the chest areas
It's
that
the
they
medieval
cover.
bulletproof vest.
Legit,
Kinda.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they might even actually be a little bit bulletproof if we shot a steel brig.
So I think that's the ultimate takeaway. I think brigandine is our favoured option. If we try and whittle it down, brigandine and gambeson, depending on situation, because then character class variance does come in.
I literally got Steel Mastery make me this one. Thank you so much, Steel Mastery. Genuinely though, guys, if you want to check out the range, they actually have, you know, not just brigs, they have different
Gambesons, clothing as well, belts.
And most of it they can make to whatever you want.
And there's a lot of customization. Like my pattern Gambeson, I was actually, it has got the Shadowversity sigil.
I want to get them to make me one of them as well.
See, he was one.
But these things, top quality, genuinely good quality. They were the ones who sent us this. Obviously the shoulders are mine. I did that myself. But brig is where I'm at.
Yeah,
That's why I got this one done.
I'm going to have to try the brig for
maybe
more than just putting it on and taking it off and seeing how we go.
And look, there's caveats and exceptions, because I think mail is still a great option. Flexibility.
I love my mail, but something that I think we can all agree on is the Gambeson.
Yeah,
Oh,
Gambeson is
100%.
It is, without a doubt, best base layer. And if you haven't checked out the video, you absolutely should check out the video.
And they're super stylish.
So
Like you can get these very
feel like
stylish.
That's kind of was what I was saying in the original video.
What?
Like Gambeson is the
Well,
Oh, well, I didn't say it was the best. I just said we can all agree.
okay.
Or he said we can all agree that it's too good.
Yeah.
I agree with that, yeah.
I feel like I'm hovering my handy and waiting for the video to appear.
Oh, yeah, so, yeah.
It'll appear.
There'll be a video
There's
here.
a video there.
Click on
Is
it.
that what you said originally?
Yeah, I don't know.
You sure?
It's there. Check it out.
You sure? He just watched
It's
the
right
video.
there.
It's not like I watched it originally.